Hi. Okay, so I've just been thinking about this Marvels movie recently, and so I wanted to just kind of like collect my thoughts about it and put them on here. I might well I mean I have been doing this recently as I've been uploading some stuff more frequently, but I'm probably gonna keep doing that. I'm just I have a lot of random thoughts about like all this stuff that's going on in like media and video games and things like that, and like predictions and things like that I like making. Just because I follow it so closely, and I figure it is probably better if I start maybe recording them so I have proof of being like, hey, I said that, or I guessed that, or I can be like, oh, well, this was my position, and then this happened. So, for example, and this is kind of unrelated to the Marvels or whatever. We'll get into that in a sec, but um, I I would have confidently told you and spit in your face about it that this recent BlizzCon Blizzard was not going to announce any kind of classic plus features or updates. I was super cynical that all they were going to roll out was like Cataclysm Classic and then just continue to let like their IPs languish and stuff. Just with the way that they, the way they've handled Overwatch and Diablo and things like that. I was like really cynical about and them getting bought by Microsoft and stuff. I just thought they didn't give a shit anymore. But I was wrong, and I'm kind of happy to admit that because I'm really contemplating playing the new like season of Discovery or whatever. But you'd have to take my word for that. But I mean, like I'm telling you that I had an opinion that was refuted, so hopefully you believe me. But yeah, I was a classic plus naysayer. I was like, there's no fucking way that's gonna happen. So, anyways, we're talking about the like I want to talk about this Marvels thing, and the specific topic that I want to talk about is I think we all probably know if you're watching like a video like this, you probably have like pretty low opinions about Marvel Studios right now and just like Disney in general. If you're also paying attention to like the Star Wars sides of things, they just cannot seem to uh, get any of this stuff right with these franchises that they have that should just like be money printers. They've managed to like kill both of these franchises in like 10 years, which is pretty insane. It didn't even take them 10 years to do it. They really did it in like the last like 3 or 4 years for Marvel, and then like well, since Last Jedi for Star Wars, so probably like 6 years as well. So pretty fast. Anyways, what am I on about? So the Marvels is a like the so my if you haven't listened to me talk about it on my other video or whatever, my shorthand of the Marvels is like I actually don't like the movie's not good, but it's not like Multiverse of Madness or like Quantumania or Wakanda Forever. Like those movies are abysmal. I hate them. Like I would forcefully induce myself to vomit uh to like make my like if you gave me the option, you're like I'm gonna start the movie, but once you throw up you can stop watching it, I would just start like shoving my hands down my throat. um but this movie isn't that bad. The problem that I had with this movie is like I was more like disappointed at it than I was like angry, because there's actually like some good elements in it and they just squandered them all. And so when we look at the Marvels in terms of like all this stuff that Disney has been pushing, right? They're constantly pushing these like female heroes, and you know they're sacrificing like all the other like good male heroes pretty much to do it. And then a lot of the movie has to be dedicated to like making fun of them and tearing them down and kind of dogging on them the whole time. And they finally got to their movie that has like all female characters, right? And it's like organically that way. It doesn't feel I mean, I guess it's outside of kind of like the meta sense of it, but like in universe it feels natural. It doesn't feel like the studios needed to get their way, and that's why these certain characters are the way that they are. It's like Monica Rambeau works on Saber, where Nick Fury is, and Nick Fury is also like the number one link between like Captain Marvel and then like Kamala Khan gets like pulled in because of like the power thing or whatever. So all the characters like being on screen like feels organic. It doesn't really feel forced like it has in the past. And then you also have a compelling female villain who has a decent, angle for sympathy, and she shares her motivation is, what is the word that I'm looking here? Her motivation is driven by her like desire for revenge against Captain Marvel. So like her motivations are directly linked to the main character. These are all like really good things. They're really interesting. These are all things that you need for like a strong story, right? So they just completely kind of botch all of this, though, right? This movie is not. It doesn't capitalize on any of these things. So you've got the three women together, and like the one thing I mentioned as well that was like great about this movie was because the three women were in it, and they were just constantly like, they were so nice to each other, and they were so warm and supportive. It was so refreshing, because in all the other movies, the person that you're there to see, they're constantly getting it from like every other character. They're always getting told like how flawed they are and how shitty they are and how stupid they are and how there's better things to be done than the way that they're doing them. And it's such a fucking bummer. So it was really nice that this movie had such a like positive vibe about it. There were definitely some things that like you may construe them as positive, but they definitely kind of like rip you out of it, like the singing planet. I mean, I will say that that's not like my most hated gag in like all of the Marvel movies or whatever, but it was also really out of left field. One of those things you wouldn't really like expect. So anyways, so my point is that like I think Marvel is like, we all know that like Marvel's like pretty fucked right now, and they just had that big Vanity Fair article come out that says that they even know about their problems. But like this movie like really says to me that they don't really know what their problems are, and even when they have all the things that they want, they don't know how to make something good. So, like, where do we go from fucking here? Because this movie should have been a fucking slam dunk for them. Like, the characters all have cool powers. Like, I know that a lot of people don't really like Captain Marvel, but I mean, like, let's be real. Like, Miss Marvel, like, really kind of carries the movie, and I feel like she's like, I feel like she's like one of the bigger draws. Like, I know that a lot of people didn't see her show, right? But I think that we all probably heard that the show was mostly good. I think the general consensus on Miss Marvel, I haven't seen it either, but the general consensus that I got from Miss Marvel is that like it's definitely not for you, but if it was for you, you'd probably enjoy it. And that she is very good as Miss Marvel. I heard lots of praise for her. And so, as someone that is like, you're like, I didn't go see I didn't go see it in the theater or whatever, but like I saw it, but I'm still like plugged into Marvel, right? It's just like with like Blizzard stuff. It's like I don't like buy any of their shit anymore, but I'm still like plugged in because like I want them to fucking turn it around because I liked them when they were good. That's how I feel about Marvel. Is like I'm paying attention because I'm like waiting for the comeback. Like I want these things to be good again because when they were a great source of entertainment. So, my point is that if you're plugged in, you know that she's going to be in this movie, and if you've been hearing all those good things about her show and stuff, you're like looking forward to it. It's like that was one of the things I was looking forward to with this movie, is finally getting to see her in the role and interacting with the others, and how is it? And she's great in it. So, and all the heroes have like really cool powers, especially the new ones, like Rambo is like some kind of like phaser, and she can shoot like lasers or something like that and fly, maybe. I don't know. Those are generally kind of cool powers. And then Miss Marvel has her like hardening and her like stretchiness or whatever. And who knows? I assume that when they introduced the second bangle in this movie, I assumed that when she got the second one, she was gonna get like more powers. She was gonna be like totally unlocked. I thought she'd be able to like fly and stuff. So you've got the three female characters that you want, you have the perfect excuse to have a movie with three female leads. They all have cool powers. You have a good villain with a good tie to the main character that will also give the main character a great arc for growth. Will give all the supporting characters great moments for how they react to the things that we learn about her, and then how they either choose to, forgive her or live with her decisions and who she actually is. You have, man, I forgot a little bit. I was gonna maybe comment on the blowing up the AI thing, but I kind of just covered that. But so my point is, you got a good story here. The last thing I was gonna say is and then now you finally have a good reason to explain why Captain Marvel is never around. It's because she fucked up so badly at one point that she's been orchestrating political marriages in a different galaxy to try and set things right, which is really cool. So there's so much good stuff here. The ingredients here for this movie are really, really good, really high quality. You should be able to make a really good meal with this, metaphorically. And they just don't. We end up getting PB&J with the fucking crust cut off on one half. And then the other half still has crust. It's just a weird organized thing. And then it's lengthwise cut and then diagonal cut as well. But only diagonal cut on one of the halves. So you're just well, what are we doing? Yeah, so I just don't know if there's is there any hope for them? Because this movie is really fucking bad, and it just in terms of it just gets nothing accomplished. It's pretty tolerable, but it's just a waste of time. And another problem with this movie is as soon as the sequence at the end started where the cats were eating everyone, that screamed we've all heard the rumors for a really long time that Marvel, they have the action sequences and things of that nature, they have them preset out, right? They know for example that at the end of the Black Widow movie, they're already compositing the shots of Natasha and Florence Pugh's character running through the halls of a structure or a ship, and that it's exploding, and they already have all the CGI done of her falling through the sky and sliding down the pieces of the building and shit like that. So they tell you out the gate okay, this script that you're writing, you have to write it with these scenes in mind, right? Because we're already compositing these shots. We started compositing them 10 months ago. So that cat scene, that screamed to me that they decided a year and a half ago that this movie is gonna have a scene in it with cats eating people with Cthulhu tentacles, and it's gonna be hilarious. And they committed to that, and that was the fruits of that labor. That was their payoff, their big payoff. They're oh man, wait till everyone goes sees the Marvels, because it's got this scene in it where these cats have Cthulhu tentacles and they eat everyone, and everyone's running, and we're gonna play Barbra Streisand over it, and it's gonna be so the lols, and everyone's gonna be tweeting about it. That's a big problem that also contributes to why the quality of these movies are not good when they're finally said and done. Because they're just getting bootstrapped to these fucking these scenes that don't really add anything, and that could be something better. Because I don't, we could have gotten any scene other than that scene is my point, and it could have had to do with actually Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and Nebula or whatever her name is. So yeah, just if they have all this stuff, all these things working in their favor, and all the details about the movie organically work in their favor, and they're all the things that they want, and they still make a movie that's this poor. What does that say? How can we have any kind of optimism going into the future that they're gonna like be able to fix this. And like I still don't understand these studios and their obstinance for like adhering to their mistakes. I don't get it. I don't get why you wouldn't just pull the plug and be like, look, we're just discontinuing the current MCU. We realize we kind of like ran everything into a wall. We recognize the errors of our hubris, and we're gonna go away now for a little bit, and we're just gonna like, theorize a brand new thing, and we'll come out to you guys when we have like a roadmap. Stay tuned, And everyone would be happy again, and like morale would be lifted. But instead, they're just dead set on like, they come out every fucking quarter or whatever, and they hype up this fucking roadmap that they have, like any of the projects are going to be good, or like they've made them with any kind of, change in the process. And what you end up doing is you just end up creating these like points of disappointment along the journey that everyone's getting, and that's like what's making the apathy set in. Now, I don't know how many people are going to be apathetic about this movie, because I don't think many people really even care about this movie. Which, it's like I said, it's a shame, because after I saw it, it's like, man, there was actually a good movie here, and like these are actually like cool characters, and we like, because when they're fighting and they're like teleporting and stuff, it's pretty neat. And once they all finally like get on the same page, and they, you start seeing them like work together and stuff, it's pretty endearing. Like I was liking a lot of it. Like I'm flabbergasted at how much in this movie I actually liked, and that was kind of my revelation at the end of it. Was like I had kind of the same like level of bewilderment when it was over as I do with like a lot of the other movies. But with those movies, I'm bewildered because like I didn't realize that you could make something so bad. But this, I was bewildered because of how much disappointment I was feeling. Because I liked it, and it could have been so good, but it's so mediocre and lackluster in reality. But there's a lot to like about it. So yeah, I don't know. And then here's the other thing too, is like they weren't even close, guys. Like they weren't even close. It's got a lot of things in it that I like it and that are good, like, ingredients on their own, but they weren't even close to like getting it right. They're so fucking far. Unless you're willing, like Captain Marvel admitting that she started like a civil war. I guess that's kind of close, to where we need to be going, but they paper over it like they do with everything whenever they drop like a really good piece of conflict. It's like it's almost like the characters don't hear what they said, and then they just like forgive them in their own way or whatever. So it doesn't really even matter that they have her admitting it when they continue. They're not really showing any growth on the way that they like handle conflict. So yeah, this makes me like incredibly pessimistic for Marvel going forward. And I also saw Loki the other night, and I think, have they just like written out Kang? Is that what they're doing with the Loki thing? Because that's what it seemed like to me. And man, it's a shame that situation panned out the way that it did, because like I actually like Jonathan Majors as Kang. Like there's a lot of Jonathan Majors in like the last episode, and like he's good. I like him. It's unfortunate that all this shit is going on, and they're probably not going to be able to go forward with that, which is fine. It's not to say that like the next talent can't be good either. But I did enjoy him. But it seems like Loki kind of decided to get rid of Kang. Or that's what it seems. I mean, the Loki's ending was like kind of ambiguous, which is, I'm sure, is exactly what they want. But it seems like they've replaced Kang for the time being. So like, where are we even at with the fucking MCU right now? Like, if you've seen this movie and then you've also seen the end of Loki, like this movie is non-consequential, right? It has no bearing on the larger MCU, other than the fact that it like put Monica Rambeau in the universe with the X-Men. But I don't think that that's really like important. Like, whatever they do with that, I'm sure that they could have written it 100 other ways that would have been equally as mediocre as this, like shunting her into that universe so that they can bring the X-Men in or whatever. Like, so, whatever. But my point is that this movie didn't really, it didn't introduce like a villain that's gonna recur. It didn't introduce any kind of consequences or threats that are going to recur. It's very much a standalone movie. And then Loki, depending on how you view Loki, you could interpret Loki. Man, that's a really weird. Man, Loki's so fucked up. Like, why did they have to make Loki? Like, you could interpret Loki in the way that Kang existed and that the MCU existed on the sacred timeline until they go back in time and drop the Tesseract to him. And then time essentially like pauses at that point while Loki does everything in the events of Loki, and then essentially like creates the multi-threaded timeline that we know, which gives everyone like free will again, which then I guess all that does is it makes Tony Stark's choice to snap away Thanos his own choice, which I guess that's I guess it's good enough at this point. There's just like so much damage done, so like at least we get that. But anyways, Loki kind of just resets itself. Like, Loki is kind of like a closed loop. The only thing bad that it does is introduces Sylvie, and she's like in the universe now, and she's kicking around. So like, there's a good chance that they're gonna like pull her into shit in the future. And like, she is not a very enjoyable character. Especially because like in the last episode of Loki, they just constantly show Loki like fighting with her, and she can never be swayed, and it just seems very. I don't know. The Loki show sucks. Is just generally how I feel about that. But anyways, both of these shows. So like with everything that we're at, everything seems fine. Unless you count like the end of Ant-Man where it shows like all the Kangs, I guess. But I don't know how to interpret that really. So we're kind of just back to that. We're kind of back to like, what do all the Kangs mean? And then like, is anything ever going to be done or said about that fucking Celestial that's like coming out of the planet? And that's like where the MCU is. And like they're dead set on like barreling towards these Avengers movies. And it's just like, but why though? There's like nothing going on. Like there's no reason to, do that at all. So I don't know. I think Marvel's pretty doomed. I think the best thing they can do is just like, like they won't do this. Probably not. I'm too cynical for it. They'd have to like really get some like fresh blood in there that like really wanted to turn shit around. But they really need to just cancel everything and just, put this one on the shelf finally and get working on the next cinematic universe and like really, think long and hard about like who your like ideal castings are and what heroes you want to like lead with and like what your like 20 movie arc is going to be, because that's kind of also the problem where we're at right now, right? Is that like you're building this other arc on top of another arc, and a lot of people are either satisfied or tired and they're not going to keep going. So you need to plan a movie arc that's like 20 movies again. Like you can't do some crazy shit that's going to like take 30 movies and 15 fucking years or whatever. You gotta, you can, it would be nice if you could do like I was going to say like a 5-year thing, but like that would be ridiculous if you could come out with 20 movies in 5 years. That would be too much. But let's say 2 movies for 10 years and just do that, and it'll be fine, or it would be fine. And that's all That's all I got. But yeah, stop doing this shit with these shows and stuff like that. It's like when they it's like they think that everyone is like addicted to this fucking shit, right? Because when they announce after Endgame, their slate for like the projects that were coming next were like it was like fucking, they thought everyone was like a junkie and they couldn't go a fucking week without Marvel. It's like WandaVision and Captain Falcon and Loki show and a new Thor movie and a new Black Panther movie and a new Doctor Strange movie and a new Spider-Man movie and new Guardian. It's like, holy shit, man. We just got done. What are you doing? Who do you think is going to come out and see all this shit? Like, a lot of this stuff isn't even interesting to me. I still haven't seen WandaVision, and I wouldn't have ever watched Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier if my friend hadn't dragged me into it. And I never would have watched Loki until I heard how fucking catastrophically bad it was. So, it's like when I saw that big slate, I was like, that's not for me. Like, I don't know who you're fucking making that for, but I'm not going to watch any of that stuff. It's like I might watch a couple of the movies, depending on who they are. Like Spider-Man and Guardians I was invested in, but, maybe Doctor Strange, but the other ones I didn't really care that much about. And yeah, they're really paying the price for it, for like diluting everything. And they did the same thing with Star Wars, right? They just like released a slate of shows and stuff like that that like only serves for like addicts. It's like, we were cool with getting like a movie every couple of years, you guys. You didn't have to fucking saturate everyone's brains and eyeballs with this crap. But so they're really reaping the rewards of that mistake, that strategy. So, yeah. Anyways, that's just my thoughts. They're they're there for you to consider.